Daniel wasn't supposed to be home that night. He had told me clearly. His trip would keep him away until Sunday. I clung to those words like a lifeline, convincing myself I still had time. Time to sort through the chaos I had created. Time to keep lying to myself, pretending it wasn't as terrible as it clearly was. But time doesn't wait for anyone, and mine had just quietly, mercilessly run out. The front door clicked open with a soft, almost apologetic sound. I heard it before I saw anything. A barely there noise, followed by footsteps that grew louder with every heartbeat. My stomach twisted. For a moment, I tried to deny it. Maybe it was a neighbor, or maybe my imagination was playing tricks on me. But then I turned, and he was standing there. Daniel, still, silent, frozen in the doorway. His overnight bag hung from his shoulder like it had been forgotten. His face was a blank canvas, but his eyes, dark, unreadable, and steady, moved from me to Ethan, who sat beside me on the couch. Ethan, half draped in a blanket, his shirt unmistakably crumpled on the floor. The room was filled with an air that had shifted completely. Sweat, perfume, heat, and guilt so thick it felt like it would choke us all. Ethan reacted first, scrambling to sit upright, his hands fumbling for his clothes. He said something under his breath, quick, incoherent, but I didn't register the words. Daniel didn't even blink. He didn't glance at Ethan, didn't acknowledge his presence at all. His gaze was fixed on me, steady and sharp, and I wanted him to do something, anything. Yo, curse, throw something. Anything would have hurt less than the cold, soul-crushing silence. I opened my mouth, my voice no stronger than a thread. Daniel, but before I could say more, he lifted a hand, not angrily, just final, a gesture that made the words die in my throat. He placed his bag on the floor with such careful calm, each movement slow and deliberate, like it was the only thing keeping him from coming apart. Ethan lingered awkwardly, now fully dressed, glancing between us like a trapped animal. I should go, he stammered, barely louder than a whisper, and then, with hesitation, he brushed past Daniel and disappeared through the door. Now it was just us, just me, and him, and the silence. I tried to breathe, but it felt like my lungs refused. Nothing I could say would make any of it right. Daniel still hadn't moved. His eyes stayed locked on mine, not with anger, but with something worse. Emptiness. Not the fire of rage I expected, but the slow, painful collapse of something that once stood strong. I came home early, he finally said, his voice too calm, too even. I wanted to surprise you. The words hit harder than any scream could have. They were laced with the weight of intention, of love that had been building quietly, patiently. My heart cracked open. Daniel, I started, but he gave a bitter, hollow laugh, the kind that held no humor, only grief. I always thought if something like this ever happened, I'd explode. Yo, break things. Demand answers. He shook his head slowly, like even he couldn't understand what he was feeling. But I don't. I just feel tired. That's when it truly hit me. Not in a cinematic, dramatic thunderclap, but in the quiet unraveling of everything between us. In the way his shoulders sagged just slightly, in the tremor in his voice, in that weariness that spoke louder than any fury ever could. I hadn't just made a mistake. I had fractured something real, something we had both spent years building with trust and care, and I had done it without truly considering what it would cost him. I never meant to hurt you, I whispered, my voice trembling under the weight of my own guilt. He let out a breath, rubbed his face, and finally looked away. But you did. The silence that followed was unbearable. I wanted to move, to reach for him, to say something, anything, that could pull us back to what we were. But nothing came. No words could touch the wreckage I had created. Then, without a word, Daniel walked to the dresser. My breath caught in my chest as I watched him open the top drawer and pull out a small velvet box. I knew that box. I had seen it once while looking for socks. I hadn't dared open it then, but I had known. I had imagined it, him kneeling, asking me to spend forever with him. I had pictured the tears, the joy, the love. I had dreamed of how perfect it would be. Now, he opened it slowly, revealing the ring inside. Simple, elegant, so unmistakably us. "I was going to propose this weekend," he said softly. "I've been planning it for months." My throat closed, my eyes burned. "Daniel, please." He closed the box with a quiet snap, tucked it gently into his pocket, and exhaled long and slow, like he was holding himself together by force alone. His eyes met mine one last time, and then he turned. No slamming doors, no angry words, just quiet, steady steps away. He walked out, and he never came back. And that, more than anything else, is what finally broke me.